Hey everybody, welcome to Highly Unlikely with Josh and Jenaye. No Jenaye today. We have a sick little girl at home, so she had to bail and go be mom. That's priority number one. But I am excited. We have some guests on today that have one of the highly unlikely perspectives that we've wanted to get to and just talk about, specifically in the area of retirement and what retirement should look like. And I'll tell a story in a minute, but before we do, why don't you guys introduce yourselves and just share a little bit about who you are and where you come from?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you, Pastor Josh, for inviting Karen and I here. Karen and I have been married for 17 years, and we both retired in 2013. Karen had a 38-year career at St. Alexis, and I worked for Knife River, but I should let Karen introduce herself too.
Yeah, we were, both married before, and we have three children. I have three children, and so when we got married, we both had worked another 5 years together. And then so we also faced retirement together in our lives and our previous lives before that. But it was like, wow, what can we do? I was looking forward to it. I was a mother and full-time working all my life, so I couldn't wait. But when Bill and I met each other, I guess to circle back just a little bit, when we met each other and had coffee for the first time, if either one of us wasn't a Christian or not strong in our faith, it was just a no-go. And we both came to that unbeknownst to the other. Mm-hmm. So we carried our Christian faith through our time together, and it grew as that three-strand cord with our union in Christ in that. And so that kicked off retirement.
And when we got together, I said, Karen, and being a business guy, I said, maybe what we should do is we should have like a mission statement for our marriage. And when I told my friends, my buddies that, they said, you have got to be the most unromantic guy in the world. That is the worst thing they had ever heard. But we actually started trying different mission statements to really keep us focused in our marriage.
Fancy, yeah.
And we went through, I don't know how many, countless number ones. And we finally said, it's got to be something simple that we can always remember. And here again, you're probably thinking, why did it take so long to come up with this? But it simply is to know, love, and serve Him. And we said, that's what we've got to do. We've got to take this marriage, and we really have to be focused in on Him and asking the good Lord to use us. And so that's kind of how we approached our working life. But then when we came to retirement in 2013, it was like, well, okay, what do we do now? And so we went to the Word, and what we found out right away is that retirement, the word retirement is only mentioned once in the Bible, and that's with the Levite priests. At 50, they could retire from, hauling the tablets around. Yeah. But other than that, it was real clear that actually was not a concept that the good Lord had. And we kept finding one scripture after another that said, no, we're to finish strong. The harvest is great, but the workers are few. And it just kept on adding up to, this idea that we had, the traditional view of retirement.
We might be retiring from a job, but we're never retiring from our faith and what we're called to.
Exactly.
But that was the question, though. Where to from here at this junction in the road where we're living our life at work and witnessing and so forth in our secular work, and then retirement hits, and then you kind of think, it's it's supposed to be time for me to have fun and travel and kind of do my hobbies and everything. But then this Christian piece of us really pulled us from that, or at least it gave us the attention to look at that and to say, what does that mean for this important part of our life, together and apart?
And doing this a little bit of research is we first of all realized that retirement in the sense of history is a relatively new concept. I mean, it really got started back in the 1930s, with the Dust Bowl and whatnot, and the Social Security Act was passed so that people would have a safety net and they would be able to retire, because before that people did not have that ability. But it was interesting as the concept developed, you ended up having this whole industry that was focused in on whether it was saving for retirement or retirement communities, et cetera, et cetera. But the whole focus over time is retirement is you deserve it. You've worked 30 years, you've earned it.
You're entitled.
You're entitled. And it was like, okay, it's now my time. I get to call the shots. I get to control.
I earned it, yeah.
Exactly. And the focus really is on yourself under the secular world or view of retirement. And we here again, back to the word, it was like, no, I mean, absolutely, whatever amount of time the good Lord has for us, is he wants us to be focused in on whether it's serving the poor,
finishing fully and well,
finishing strong, exactly, and not wasting. One of the things that we realized for sure, and it's still maybe a struggle today, I know for me, is with this amount of time that we have where we don't have a regular job, is what do you do with that time? Your calendar's all of a sudden opened up, and that's one of the most precious things. You said something the other day on, I don't know if it's a previous podcast, Pastor Josh, but you talked about having almost as much focus on your energy that you have, not just your time, but your energy to get things done. And that's the same thing in the traditional view of retirement. There's no hurry. You've got all the time in the world. But in reality is the sands of time are...
Well, and the fact that you've come to this far in your life for retirement or thinking about retirement means you've lived, quite a few years. And with that, we realize, look at the wisdom and the growth that we've had spiritually, the valleys and that we've gone through in our life, the stories, what we can bring. And it just seems, we just thought, wow, there's just so much richness, not only the time and the wisdom and everything, but in some cases we are blessed because we were both able to work all our life and have the fruits of our work, which is God's blessing to us, through us. And so we use all those things, our time, talents, and treasures, then to live out our life, I think, in that respect and bring everything all the good, the bad. I mean, a lot of times when people said, oh, I don't know, God wouldn't use me. I'm too old, too tired, too infirm. I've failed too much. Some of us feel like we've made mistakes, and it would be the evil one would want to cancel you or silence you. And you use your story and your mistakes so that others can identify and grow in their faith. And so we all finish strong no matter where you're at in that. Yeah,
I think of it as like the sage years, where you have the wisdom and the life experience. You've had failures, but you've also had achievements, and you have so much wisdom, and kind of that sage wisdom that you can pass on. And I see a lot of people not use that. They think that their best days are behind them, or they've done their time, so to speak, and now somebody else should do it. Part of the reason this conversation was so intriguing to me was which if you're in Bismarck, North Dakota, Phoenix, Arizona is like the retirement capital of the world for North Dakotans. And we were on a flight there as a family. And it was right about that time where everybody's like migrating out of North Dakota for the winter and just trying to get away before the cold. And the plane was filled with people who just over the course of that week, and I'm not trying to be judgmental. I just thought, just to make an observation, It was like the next 6 months of their life, they were flying away from their community, you know, if they have a family or a church, was going to be drinking and golf. And that was kind of like, I thought that's the pinnacle. Like that's the pinnacle that we've created is you get to go to warm weather and that's how you spend your time.
Yeah.
And I heard you guys just talk about a redeemed version of that, or like a restored version of that, of still having purpose, which I think actually keeps a lot of people healthy and alive and on mission too. So talk about just, you guys went from this kind of being a concept that you embraced yourselves and what you did to kind of move it into action for other people, or how it even changed your plans.
I do want to say that we've had, we do go to Phoenix, Scottsdale, but we bring our purpose with us. We are bringing it with us. We do enjoy a whole new set of friends, another church, people that, we are involved in Bible study. So we're enmeshed in another community.
But you're intentional about building community and being engaged.
We're still, hopefully, whatever the day brings is, what is His will for me today?
But to answer your question, though, Pastor Josh, is, what we found out when this conversation came up with a lot of people that were in retirement, that they really hadn't given this much thought. They had really pretty much just accepted the secular view. And there's
even though they're Christian.
Oh yeah,
practicing.
But there's a funny term that we like to use. Is the secular view is okay. You're done working, you head out to pasture, and being a farmer in your background, you'll like this. That our message is not to get pasteurized. There's still work to be done here. Stay focused.
You have value and
have value. You absolutely have value. Here again, back to the secular world is you see older people many times, and we do the same thing. It's ageism. Just say, well, all right, okay, move along, pops. All right, granny. You get out of the way, and don't you know how to drive? And we kind of are dismissive. When in fact there are some cultures, for example, like Japan, where they honor their elders, they hold them up. But the point being is, with what we did, we started teaching this class. We created a class, and I kind of took the lead on that. And Karen attended my first class, and she thought it was the worst class she'd ever been to.
It was a good class, but I'm very structured, and
my typos and my
you're just sharing from the heart, right?
He had paragraphs, and I'm like, you need to have an outline, and you need to. And so I thought, I don't want to get involved, but I got to help this man. No.
I'm called to it.
I mean, and he had the heart of it, because he wanted to pass on what we are learning, what we have. We read books upon books and studied and everything, yeah.
But what we found out, which was just a tremendous blessing, was for the people, despite maybe the roughness of the class, the people that attended came back to us and told us what they had decided to do in their lives.
How it's changed their life.
There was one woman, Carol is her name, in Scottsdale, and she said, you know what, you're right, I'm just sitting around, I'm just watching TV and da-da-da-da-da. She formed a group of ladies that make dresses. They're global dresses. There's a pattern that they're very, very sturdily made, with pockets and whatnot,
and cotton,
and they're shipped to Africa and other third world countries. But I think she said they'd made 750 of these dresses, and they're in high demand. And people, other stories are, Bruce was a guy that's he's mechanically inclined. He started making bicycles for kids that didn't have them.
Wow.
And people that have done a variety. Some people have changed their wills. When we get to the part of the class when we talk about, your legacy, financial legacy, I just ask in the class, well, how much are you leaving to God?
And people
think mostly it's just your family.
It's just family. And it was a whole new conversation about, well, time, talent, treasure, you're not going to take it with you. Someone said there was a wealthy man that went to heaven, and how much did he end up leaving behind?
No,
Everything.
Yeah. Andrew Carnegie. But so this one particular woman went back and changed her will, and she said, that's something that so there was just a variety of things that we discussed that just kind of put forth to everybody is, why don't you think about this?
And we too had to go through those.
Absolutely.
Setting up what do you call it?
Donor
advised fund or whatever, so that when we're gone, and yet we give while we're here, but when we're gone, we want to make sure that our giving continues to give over and over.
We use that, store your treasures in heaven. So for me, I just think about, well, if you went to the mailbox and got a statement from the Celestial Savings and Loan, what would that statement, how would it read?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just those sorts of thoughts. Just think about this.
How much were you given,
Yeah.
and what did you do with it?
Yeah.
Because
It's just so
we're
interesting.
all going to answer those questions someday.
Right. I'm in the season of life where we're trying to build towards being able to live that way.
Sure.
You're in the season of life where you're looking at it dead in the face saying, what do we want this to look like? And so it's just really, I'm curious. I know I'm, not that we have a script, but I'm going off script a little on the conversation and just saying, what's the advice that you would give to, a lot of people listening are my age, or they're our peers, or they have young kids. Is there anything that you would do different starting out or in the middle? I like to think I'm starting out. Others say that I'm middle age, but what advice would you have?
One thing that on our first class, when we talk to everybody, there is one thing we do in that first class, and that is their homework every day from that day through the 4 weeks. So it'll be about a month. And we go and we say, where are you in your prayer life? Where are you in the Word? Are you, those are prerequisites that, because if you want to come here and have us tell you what to do, it's not going to come from us, but it's going to come from the Holy Spirit. And you're here because you want to find out, and you've said, use me. And so in that sense, you've made that first step. But in order to use me, you have to be able to be patient and listen to what our Father has for each of them, whether it's making a dress, whether it's making a bike part, whether it's giving a class, whether it's, whatever. But I think that we ask them to be in prayer, to journal, to listen. We give them scriptures about retirement and the Bible verses that kind of support what we're saying in every class. And we say, read those this week and contemplate them or think it over. And so that supports, and then they're in the Word. And then pretty soon by the end of class, someone has got an idea, or in the next year, someone went, your class changed my life. I've changed my will. I'm totally, comfortable what I'm doing for the kingdom. I'm enjoying my retirement as well. So
my background in the work that I did, Pastor Josh, was construction. And a couple of thoughts that we talk about in class. Most people, when you hear the term journeyman, most people associate that with a level of expertise, a journeyman carpenter, a plumber, electrician, et cetera. But really, the traditional view of journeyman is somebody that would journey. You would go to where the work is. And so that would be something back to your question about, what people of your age or younger would want to think about with their future retirement. Is what kind of journey are you on? And the other thing is besides where would God want you to go, is I always think in terms of your toolbox. You think about back on the farm or whatever, you needed all the tools to keep the tractors running or repair the fences or whatever. And what would you have in your toolbox? Well, some of the things to think about would be, a shovel. What you would want to be doing is you would want to be digging holes and planting seeds. How could you do that? Have people start thinking about, well, is your retirement just going to be playing golf? Is it just going to be, addressing your bucket list? Or think about, what really does God want me to do with however much time
and talent
and talents and
gifts.
the treasures. One of the things that I know that Karen and I talked about is because I enjoy business, just because I retired from my corporate job, did I need to quit working? And we said no. And for years, we supported the poor through an organization called Unbound, which we really loved. And I said, well, why don't I keep working and we can keep, supporting more poor. Mm-hmm. And so all of these things, I think, just to basically open people's eyes to say the possibilities are enormous, just enormous. And the other thing is, this is really a fun thing to tell people. It's so contrary to most people's thoughts. They've done extensive surveys for people that have lived well into their 90s, and they have asked them if you had to pick a decade that you really think has been the best decade of your life, the number one decade that they choose are people in their 70s. Because you get to, and now granted, you have some health issues or something like that would derail your thoughts, but still you have this basically blank canvas, and you've got all this experience, and you get to do whatever it is that you want to do. But if you've got your eyes focused on God and what He wants you to do, then you can have this tremendous amount of gratefulness that you can make a difference. You can use all these experiences that, like Karen was talking about earlier. And so I would say that the thing that maybe some people have in their mind is, oh, well, you're going to get old and it's going to be, it's just really going to be a bummer. Well, with the possibility really is it's not, it could be the winter of your life, but if you look at it maybe through God's eyes, it can be your springtime.
Well, and your gift and abilities in business would have been wasted if you were just going to choose to play golf 4 hours a day every day of the week. And I'm not negating that, because there are people that play golf and are witnessing out there.
Oh, for sure.
And so that is whatever is your talent, but your talent was business. I mean, he kept on working as if his office was open, but it was in the house. So I got to see him. But he continued to do business ventures, and all of that accumulated to where we were able to, from your talent and treasures and heart for God, we're able to, God blessed us beyond measure, and we were able to then use those blessings through our retirement and what we're doing now.
Well, and just back to Karen talks about now some of the things haven't worked out well, and we need to tell you this story. Yeah. So we said back to this to know, love, and serve Him is we decided, well, okay, we've got this retirement path that we're on. I said, let's form a company called Kingdom Investors, and we will invest in whatever the returns are. Is that we'll use that for the kingdom. And one of our main partners is another member of this church, and we won't mention his name, but the super, super good guy. And anyhow, we went off and we loaned money. Our first investment to somebody that we thought this would be a good investment. And I'll get to the end real quick. Like, basically, it was a fraudulent investment, and the man left the country. And he was pursued by the FBI, and all that money was gone. And it was, here again, it was just,
We lost it.
we lost it all. And
That-
plus the legal fees and everything else. And it was kind of like, okay, the evil one
maybe
got
we
in,
don't want-
got in there and a punch right in the old schnoz. And we said, well, okay, it was, the thought crossed our minds, well, maybe this is not the best idea. But we said, no, this is we know how this got derailed. So now we're going to stay the
gonna
course,
stand
even though we
firm.
had the setback. And 2 years later, Josh, I ended up having an opportunity that I never even considered. It just came out of the blue. And the financial return was 5 times greater than the money that we lost.
If you just hang in there.
Just hang in there.
Yeah.
And it was like,
Stand
okay,
firm.
stand firm. And so that's
That's
one,
better than hang in there. Stand firm. That's
yeah.
better language.
Yeah, I like that, Karen. So,
But and
Go
that
ahead.
was using your talents and abilities. But then I see my 96-year-old mother in a care facility, and you know what? She's praying every day. She's in community. She is her position in prayer and faith is a witness to everybody. And when we put Mom into that memory care facility 2 years ago, this was my ministry then. For that was the season that God called me to in my life, is to help my mom through those. But I realized into it that He gave me a unit of 16 people that I love dearly, all the staff, and growing. And I wasn't just there to help Mom move into her last years, but I watched her and her faith grow, and other people and their faith praying for each other in that. But we can use it in the smallest increment. I mean, she's got dementia even, but her prayer channel is on every day, and she's praying for us. And
the thing that's so beautiful to watch Karen when she goes into this unit is the vast majority of those people never get a visitor.
Yeah.
The families park them there and kind of get them out of the way, and they just don't have any sort of I think love. And Karen has got to know every one of them, and I mean the women will come up and give her a hug, and they're so thankful that she's there and knows their story. But the second part, though, the caregivers. One of the things we've learned in the 2 years that we've been there, boy, you talk about a tough job when you're
and turnover.
I won't go into all the stuff that they have to do, but it's a tough job. And so Karen's appreciation and love for the caregivers and let them know that the work that they're doing is super important and not going unappreciated. So that's turned into
my ministry, in
Your
other words.
Pastor Karen for all of those ladies and the one gentleman that's left there. So back to this, use me. You're just raising your hand.
For such a time as this.
Exactly.
Okay, so help me with this a little bit. By the way, I'll just say you guys are living this, because right now is like go to Arizona season and you're back here serving your mom and serving those people instead of being there.
Happily so.
Yeah. So just help me, because I don't know that everybody sees opportunities as clearly as you guys do with like what you're talking about with caring for people and what you're talking about with innovation. So I feel like there's probably a lot of people you deal with in your classes who just say, I don't know what to do. Or I don't know how to make a difference. And how do you guide them into figuring out what to do?
One of the things is, if we ask the question is, if you think about something that you see in the world, what makes you the saddest? I mean, is it human trafficking? Is it the lack of opportunities for people to go to a church? Or, I mean, for example, in the last class that we taught here at Evangel, one of the gentlemen said, "I'm not really sure what to do," and we just keep.
We said, don't just relax and pray and be in prayer and ask God to show you during these 4 weeks or whatever or after, and trust that the Holy Spirit will speak to you. The fact that your sail is up, meaning the boat with the sail up, if your sail is up, then you will be used somehow, somewhere. But make sure your boat is in order, meaning that you are ready to be used by God.
And what happened with him was when we stayed close to him, he was one of the volunteers that went to Alaska.
Yeah.
He said, I wasn't planning on doing that, but we just said, we
Changed
just
his
challenged
life,
him. You look for an opportunity, just keep your eyes open. And I think he's been up there at least twice, maybe three times. But anyhow, thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I talk to people, when a lot of times when we retire, we're getting to those senior years because there's different, we're still active, but then there's people that are physically struggling, or they say they're too old or too tired or sick, or they have too many failures in their life. But it's that we are all a part of a body, and to not isolate. And because a lot of times you come away from your work family, and you're starting to be at home and maybe just doing this outing or exercise or whatever. But it's so important to stay part of your family, of your church family, your immediate family, and be part of their lives in what you can, pray. Prayer is powerful. Your example is leaving their legacy. I mean, showing, they'll remember who you were, even though mom's demented. They're going to see her as a woman that was just steadfast,
So the add on to that, Karen, is loneliness is epidemic. And not just in the memory support units, but in other places, particularly as you get older. So I think the challenge to deepen relationships, I think here again, if you just sit with people and let them talk and you honor them and or they're talking about, their history and their family or whatever. So you hear again, that doesn't require anything other than being attentive. And that's a really, I think, a tremendous ministry.
If you're not part of a body of believers, of people that you can connect with, you're 3 times more likely to die from an early death, 4 times to suffer emotional burnout, 5 times to be clinically depressed, and 10 times more likely to have an emotional or mental struggle. So, I mean, that's the connectedness protects us as well, from... I mean, we can live longer by staying connected no matter what state your body is in.
And one of the other things, too, back to with the loneliness and the deepening of relationships is, the other health benefit, too, is the being grateful. That's
Gratitude.
one thing. Karen's mom is 96, my mom's 98, and one thing that they share in common is both of them, despite the fact that their bodies are worn out, is they're both very, very grateful people.
Every day.
And, that's something that we continue to share
that we're
with
learning by watching them. Yeah.
That we are just, we're so grateful. I mean, wake up in this cold day and have a warm house and, here again, the health benefits of being thankful and first and foremost for our good Lord. But there's so many things to even in our, age category, there's so many things to say thank you.
I think it's just awesome because you're pushing back on all the narratives about elderly people, on being old and crotchety and, just all these, it's just a totally different kind of living. It's like the kingdom way. No matter what decade. And I've heard what you quoted earlier, that your 60s and 70s are some of the most, I think they said your 60s can be the most productive years of your life because of the amount, you're not in the learning curve anymore. You know how to do things. You know how to be effective. You have the relationships to make them happen and just being really purposeful, with every season of your life. And so it's really inspiring. The time goes really fast. So we only have like 10 more minutes. And I know there's a lot in your hearts. You have 4 classes worth of stuff, but what do you want to make sure that people know and take away from the conversation?
I think on a previous podcast, Pastor Josh, you talked about being cognizant of your energy and the amount of energy that you have. And I kind of put the two together. If you think about it, if you had a visual of an hourglass, the thing that we talk about in our class is you may see some sand in the bottom, and unless you, God forbid, you've been given a terminal diagnosis, you have no idea how much time you have left.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so what we talk about in the class is, well, if the time is short, what is it that you want to get done? Mm-hmm. And to really respect the time that you have. And back to your point of energy, that's one thing too that we realize, and particularly, watching our mothers, is that, okay, it's a precious, precious gift. If you think about time, talents, and treasures, and you're asked, what's the most important? Like most people would probably tell you time. Mm-hmm. But we don't respect it like it should be. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, okay, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to do things next week. I'm going to make an appointment for a year from now. I mean, it's just kind of like you accept the fact that it's just always going to be there. Well, it's not. Mm-hmm. So we really kind of mention this maybe more than Karen does, but say, I think you need to have a sense of urgency. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think I probably drive her nuts, but it's kind of like chop, chop, chop. Let's get going. Mm-hmm. We just don't know. And when good friends pass away or whatever, we just say, well, there you go. So let's get with the program.
And I think that's why this class is called Encore. It's Encore. What it means is to come back for applause and give a final. You've had a great, you had a life. Now come back and finish strong, or give one more, your best, one more time, and everything. And I think that's exciting. Also, I think that how much God invested in us, and He created us, He shaped us, He gave us gifts, talents, and abilities. We've been blessed with so much. What can we invest then back into that? And I just love this little quote. And then the other thing I would like to say is remember Abraham and Esther, such a time as this.
Moses.
They were in their older years, even
Sarah.
And God had... in their older years, they were doing some of their best. Mm-hmm. And so let's remember that they are our example. Mm-hmm. And they weren't perfect by any means. Paul made a lifetime of struggle and until he turned his life into what God will have. But I like that the best use of life is love. The best expression of love is time, and the best time to love is now. Mm-hmm. Now, for everybody. Yeah. Whether you're,
And just back to the giving part and this is for sure, it's not my penmanship, but and you've probably heard this too as well. But we make a living by what we receive, but we make a life by what we give. Yeah. And I think that's
of time, treasure time.
Yeah, right. And that's what's so rich about this stage of our lives is that we have the ability to do that.
Yeah. On one of the last podcasts, we were talking about just the holidays and when we're older and whether our kids are able to come home or not. And I said, Jenaye, if our kids don't come home, if they're with the in-laws, we're going to the beach. That's like we're spending Thanksgiving on the ocean. But truly, when I think about retirement, I think our minds have shifted so much too. And I think sometimes too, people say, well, you're in ministry, like your job never ends, as if I'm the only one who's in the ministry around here. We're all in the ministry. We're all in
ministry. We're not all pastors.
Right.
Is that, yeah.
But you can all be ministering, and,
ministering, yeah.
But I was thinking about that and I thought, man, even the retirement that Jenaye and I try to put away and some of the legacy, it's not a bucket list. Mm-hmm, it is, because even when I think of my bucket list now, like I want to go to all 4 tennis Grand Slams all over the world. Mm-hmm. But now that bucket list has changed. I want to do it with my son.
Oh,
sure. I want to
Yes.
do it with my, like,
Purposeful.
I want, or after Christmas, I want to take my kids somewhere every year. And when they're older and they have kids. And so you start to think about legacy, and not just about what's in it for me and I've done my time. But I know even for us, our thinking has changed so much to even, I just said, Jenaye, I don't really ever want to stop working unless I can't anymore. I just always want to be doing work like this. But anything we save up, any legacy, I want investment into our kids and into the next generation and into our church and into, those types of things. But it is a different way than the world teaches, and you guys have just done a really great job of taking that and putting it into material, and walking people through it. And I think it's a real gift.
Well, thank you for that, Pastor Josh. But I think about you're such a great teacher, and it would be an absolute travesty if you got to 65 or whatever, and then, walked away. I mean, it would be like burning down the library. I mean, it was like holy buckets. That would be just a travesty. So. That's, and here again, it's just this contrast between, okay, I'm retired now, and it's all about me. Don't tell me to do anything, and don't call me for anything.
And even before, it was like, we have to take the kids to Disney World. You know what we've changed? We want to take kids on a mission trip with us. It'll change their life. And so I've told my son and that, when the kids are of age and my daughter-in-law, dear, wonderful people, and the kids are going to go to Disney World, but our goal is that they will go on a mission trip before their teenage years. It'll change their life. And so that's like with you, and your goals are more, what's important in, what's just those bucket lists aren't all,
right,
for what they are.
And we've seen kids when we've been on some of our missions. We've seen these kids, and generally they're about 12. The youngest, I think, are 12 or 13.
Yeah.
But they first get there, and it's if we're in the barrios of Nairobi or Manila or whatever, is we see the kids just
over the week
overwhelmed by the poverty.
Their whole worldview changes in 1 week.
In 1 week or 10 days, whatever, however the length.
Your life.
They absolutely, you can just see them, as you get ready to go back to the States, you can just see these.
They're on fire. They're ready. They're thinking of how they can even technologically connect with people. I mean, they're so, ready to dedicate themselves and their life to that. It'll always change their
tremendous growth in just a week's time. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being pace setters in teaching us all how to have an encore. I mean, I just feel I'm not doing everything perfectly, but there's some stuff Jenaye and me have talked about that, like, okay, we're rowing in the right direction. For us, it's let's just make sure we're rowing in the right direction. And I think, man, I just keep thinking, how do we take this and turn it into an online course for 4 weeks that people can just sit at home and watch? Because not everybody's going to be able to sit with you guys.
That's a good idea too.
But that's me being like you and just saying, let's innovate, let's make it more accessible. What can we do next? So. And our poor video and production team just goes, oh boy, here he goes again. But love and appreciate you guys. And I know for those of you that are listening, you probably know somebody who maybe is in this season of life, or they're nearing retirement, or they're wondering what to do with their next act. I know some people who are just staying in their same job or their same role, not because they want to, but because they don't know what to do next. And I think this is just great insight and very helpful. So if you know somebody, share this with them. Thank you to Bill and Karen for your investment in all of us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, during this time, and for all the work you're doing with Encore. So thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks all of you for listening. Feel free to subscribe and share, and we'll see you next time.